Hello, Light. Trust you are doing great. And how is the fasting going? All right, I just quickly want to take this time to answer some frequently asked questions on fasting. And one of those important questions is can we have sex as husband and wife? Can we have sex during fast? And I'd like to quickly read from 1 Corinthians chapter 7. But since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relation with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband, and in the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other, except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourself to prayer. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now, can we have sex during fasting? Can we have, as married couples, can we have sex during fasting? Number one thing I'd like you to know is that one of the core duty of a husband to the wife and wife to the husband is sex. Is sex. Within the confines of marriage, sex is not a sin. Now, Paul said you can have sex, and however, when it comes to prayer and fasting, he said if you both agree, if you both consent not to have sex so that you can pray and you can fast, he said, so be it. But what Paul is trying to say there is not saying that you cannot have sex as husband and wife during fasting. All right, that is not what he's saying. And let me say this, that it also depends on the kind of fast you are doing. Now, if you are doing a dry fast, let's say you are not taking any water, you're not taking any food for some days, I don't advise you to have sex, within that period of time. Not that sex is a sin or sex is bad, but it's not advisable because of the kind of strength and so that you can focus. However, sex is not a sin. If you are breaking in the evening, you can have sex after you break. But is it a sin to even have sex maybe in the morning or in the afternoon, even while we are still fasting? Does sex breaks a fast? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. This is the reason, because sex itself is spiritual. Sex itself is an act of worship to God. So when it is done within the confines of marriage, every act of sex is an act of worship. And when you see it, even in the other world, in the traditional world, in the occultic world, you discover that most temples usually have harlots in those temples, because when they go to worship their gods, so they pay the temple harlot to have sex with them as an act of worship to their gods. So sex within the confines of a God-ordained marriage is spiritual and is an act of worship. So sex anytime is not a sin. However, what we say is that so that you can conserve your energy, that is why sometimes we advise that you don't have sex, but it is not a sin. And if your husband demands for it, if your husband says, well, although we are fasting, I feel like having sex, should I allow him? Absolutely, absolutely. In as much as both of you did not come to terms that we are not going to have sex. But if both of you agrees that there's not going to be sex, if both of you agree that part of the things we want to fast is sex fast, then it's okay. But if both of you do not agree, then you can have sex. I mean, it's not bad, but just for the sake of focus, that's why we said maybe not. But it's not a sin, and it's perfectly fine to have sex during fasting.